When is it?
August 3rd.
I did carry weapons.
Did you carry them?
Okay.
It's part of it.
I was, when I first started as a private, I had to carry something that was called a machine gun, a really big one. It was really heavy. And then when I became a team leader, which is just a sergeant, I carried what's called M203 grenade launcher. The grenade launcher was a lot lighter than the machine gun. And then when I became a squad leader, all I carried was an M4 rifle.
Does this flag tell you you're on a good team?
Yes.
Oh, I have one on my costume. Does it see flag?
My costume. He doesn't need to know that.
Did I ever get hurt? No, but I did get lost one time. On my very first jump, because I was the youngest kid on the in the school on the airplane, they made me jump first. And we were flying. You're supposed to land in Alabama, and you fly from Georgia to Alabama. And while we were flying to Alabama, we hit turbulence, and I fell off the plane. And so I landed in Georgia, and it took them 4 hours to find me. And to answer the earlier question, if I was ever around bombs or anything, on one of my tours, my truck was traveling somewhere to help somebody, and we were hit with what's called a car bomb. And so everybody in the truck got hurt. And when you get hurt in combat in the military, they give you this award right here, which is called a Purple Heart. And when I got hurt, I fractured 2 vertebrae, which are the bones in your back. And I herniated 6 discs, which are the sponges in between your vertebrae to hold everything together. And I had 32 pieces of shrapnel, which are little pieces of metal in my body. One was right here in my face. And I still have some of that metal in me. So I have a special note from the president that says when I go through airports, you know, the metal detectors, I have to show them that note because I set those metal detectors off. So I got a note that says I'm okay, I'm not going to do anything bad. I don't know how all that works.
It's a visible way. It's an X-ray. Checks your body for metal. I have a flag on my Captain America costume.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What was that?
I have a flag on my Captain America costume. Where is the flag like?
Would you want to share with us?
It probably would have been the day I was hurt. It happened on December 20th. And December 20th was actually the day we were supposed to go home. But we ended up getting what's called extended. And so a week before that, they told us that we were going to have to stay in combat for 3 extra months. And so we ended up having to do a mission, and that was the day I got hurt. And when I got hurt, all my friends that I was telling you about were right there and ready to make sure that I was okay. They helped stitch me up, they helped patch me up, and they made sure I got to the hospital safe and sound where I was taken care of. And they came and saw me on Christmas Day while I was still in the hospital, and they all brought me a present. That was really cool. It was really nice. What was my present?
Yeah.
They brought me Spam and mustard and a package of Oreos, because when you're in the desert, you don't have a whole lot. Somebody had a question back there? No? Very, very hot. The hottest day we had was 152 degrees. And they have something called the camel spider, and it's about this big around. It's a really big spider. Which is cool. Very scary. Did I lose my weapons? No, because that is very, very bad. Nope. If somebody loses one, they take the whole base and everybody gets together and we do what's called Hands Across America, and we all stand arms width apart and we walk everywhere that person had been until we find it. And you get lots and lots of trouble. You get what's called an Article 15, which means they take half your pay for 3 months and your rank away. Your badge? There's something on post called a PX, which is kind of like a Walmart, but on base, and they sell all of those things. So you can just go get one of those. It's not as big a deal.
Like the weapons.
Yeah, the weapons are a really big deal. You're not allowed to lose those. Those are what we call a sensitive item. And your night vision is a sensitive item. I got to wear night vision so I could see in the dark. Yeah, night vision's really cool.
And I saw it in a video game called, Clone Wars, and they had night vision.
Night vision?
Yeah, I see.
You saw an army movie? Army because my uncle was an airborne ranger, his brother was an airborne ranger, my grandfather, I don't know what he did, but he was in the military, and so was his father, and I felt that it was my duty to join for my family, because I thought if I joined, then my brothers and sisters wouldn't have to go, because I did it for them. And so I decided that I was going to do it right out of high school, so that when I was done with my 4 years, I could go to college. But I loved the Army so much that I stayed in, and I did my college while I was in. When I got hurt, I was 20 years old. 21 years old, sorry.
Why did you get out of the Army?
I got what was called a medical discharge, and because I got hurt from the car bomb, they tried to fix me, but I wasn't what they called combat ready, so they gave me a desk job, and I worked that for a few years, but they couldn't get me combat ready, so I got medically discharged. They let you out.
I wondered if they had any tanks.
Any tanks? We don't use tanks as much anymore. They still have M1 Abrams, which is a really, really big tank. They have to have a whole special ship that takes those over. And those are in Texas. We don't deploy with them as much anymore. Now they use what's called a striker, and it's a big wheeled tank. It has, I think, 12 wheels. I never got to ride one, but they have 12 wheels, but the rest is just like a tank, but instead of having those big, heavy tracks, it has wheels.
Were you in a World War?
A world war? No, I'm not that old. But I did get to serve with a lot of other countries. While I was there, the Australian Army was there. The Canadian Army was there. I believe the Polish Army. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But there was lots of different militaries there, and I got to serve with all of them. A lot of the people that are a member of what's called the UN. And they get together and help each other out. So it's kind of like a world war, but not as big. But lots of other countries participate.
Were you in a regular war?
Yep, I was in what's called Operation Iraqi Freedom, and I went there 3 times. I was actually in what's called a Humvee, Do you guys know what Hummers are? The car Hummer? Oh, it kind of looks like a really wide Jeep. And I was in the back of one of those before they were armored. So there was no windows, no walls.
I have that kind of Jeep.
Theme of the war that you were in, but why were we at war in Iraq? Guys, listen up. Why were we at war? Listen up.
I don't know if you guys know this, but we did not go to war with Iraq. We went to war against what they called the insurgents and other terrorist groups. We used Iraq as a battlefield, basically, because most of the terrorist activity was going on in that region of the world. And so we went there so they couldn't come back here again, because after September 11th, everybody was on guard and we were not wanting that to happen again.
Did you ever go to a different
Yes, I went to Iraq. Well, I guess I only went there twice, but I was there for 3 years.
Was it like?
It's desert. It's very sandy and hot, and they build their houses, most of their houses and buildings, out of mud. What they do is during the mud season, like in the spring, they get all of the mud they can find and they build brick-shaped lumps of it, and then they wait for summer when it starts to dry up and harden, and then they build their buildings with it, and they use straw inside the mud to help it hold together, and they use mud as a paste to put on the outside to make it very sturdy. And they drink lots of tea and bread with lamb. It's actually very good. Sometimes you have to try things. I thought the same thing when I first got there, but to be polite, I tried it. It was very, very tasty. And they have lots of traditions over there. Like you'll notice that males here, when they sit, they'll cross their legs like this. Over there, if you show someone the bottom of your foot, that's disrespectful, so you don't sit like this over there. You try to keep your feet down, and you always shake hands with your right hand. And we built lots of schoolhouses over there because some of them got destroyed while we were coming through. And we gave them lots of food, and lots of families from the United States donated boxes of clothes, and then they shipped them to us. And we handed them out to the kids over there. And they don't eat pork, so we made sure that whenever we gave them food, that we didn't give them any pork. And we would bring people with us called interpreters, and they spoke Arabic, so they could help us translate. And we tried to learn a little Arabic ourselves to be polite while we were over there. Because being polite is the best thing you can do. It makes people a lot nicer.
How long are the ships to carry the wheel tanks?
I could not tell you that because I was never in the Navy, so I never really got to see the ships. I flew on airplanes and helicopters where it